Hi, people. Yeah, you notice my headband's back, right? It's not really a headband, but it is. It's holding my head together. I have a headache. I can't remember if I actually woke up with a headache this morning, but as the day went on, I got one if I didn't. Yesterday, I woke up with a headache, but not today, I don't think. So, what have I done today? Not. Huh. I might need to check that out because I recall reading. Was that yesterday or today? It might have been last night. When did I read Matthew 27? Let me see if I got it on here. I bet I do. I do. I did it last night. Okay. Yes, it's not one that I really wanted to read, and I probably didn't read it very well. But kind of, sort of. It's just, I like perfection. But I don't know how to get it. Practice makes perfect. That's what they say, right? Practice makes perfect. So, in the meantime, I'm anxious to finish Matthew. And then we'll just see what I do next because that might be the only thing we need to do. But like I said, I know that the church uses the Luke, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. They use the Luke version for the nativity. So there might be more mentioned there about his birth. I imagine there is. I'll just have to go seek it out. But the thing is, time is getting short. And here pretty soon I will be walking out the door and going to an airport. And I'm not meaning today, but I've just got a lot to get done before that happens. Like we all do, because I'm leaving on Christmas Day. So I know everybody's trying to get ready for Christmas. And time is short. Anyway, I'm excited. I'm excited to go be with my family, to go see my daughter and my grandchildren. Although I'm pretty sure Kevin's going to be missing. He's in the Army. And I'm not sure when he gets to come home for a visit. So it might be next year because he might have already used up his time. I don't know how that works. So this morning I planned on having coffee with you guys and things got in my way. Yes, I know, one was a potty call. And I had a phone call before I got back on here, I'm pretty sure. So I don't think I've actually done anything else but that little short visit this morning where I shared a Book of Mormon, what it looks like, and they're everywhere, okay, because the church gives them out, and not everybody wants one. And they just get set over to the side and forgotten about, unless somebody's on fire. Now, if you're on fire for the Lord, you need to get a Book of Mormon. But, I mean, everybody with their gadgets, there's an app, a free app that includes all the scriptures, meaning the Old Testament, the New Testament, the Book of Mormon, another testament of Jesus Christ. Plus, what comes after that? I'm not sure, but the Pearl of Great Price, and then the Doctrine and Covenants. And it just seems like there should be a third one, but I don't know what it is. I know that there's topical guide and dictionary and all that stuff, but that's within the book. Pearl of Great Price is pretty important. Doctrine and Covenants is pretty important. So that would be the Book of Mormon, Pearl of Great Price, Doctrine and Covenants. Maybe that's the three. Besides the Bible, the Old Testament and the New Testament. And on that app that I've told you guys about, there's so many more books besides the scriptures, okay? There's a really great book called Jesus the Christ, but it's pretty heavy, meaning heavy doctrine, heavy words that I don't know the meanings to. It was written in 1915. That's what one of my people on here told me. They went and looked it up. And I can't remember who it was now. I'm sorry. I don't think it was Noah. Was it Noah? Somebody did anyway, which I appreciated. Because I just don't have enough time in the day to keep looking up all these different things that pop out of my head. Strange. Anyway, okay, so I want to finish up Matthew. I'm just not sure how it's going to affect me. And I just took a pain pill because I have a headache. The other day I took I wonder where I put that. Surely it's not in the garbage. I have all these pill bottles. I have a fetish for containers. I like containers, okay? So pill bottles and plastic containers with lids and different types of containers. I don't want to throw them away. I have a very hard time doing that. Chasing my foot down here. And so I had a box of BC powders. They were it was half empty, but I buy a box of 50 packets, okay? So what I did was I opened up a bottle. I'm sure I took the label off. Surely I did. Anyway, I took the label off the bottle and I filled it with my BC powders because they stood up just the right length, and then I closed it up. But what did I do with it? I don't know. It really should be with my other medications or in the drawer. I have medications in a couple of drawers. Sounds like a bunch of medications, don't it? But there were a bunch of bottles. There's a lot of waste going on in the world. They, like, okay, I get a 90-day supply of a certain pill, or, I mean, of several pills if I have them, okay, because they can give you a 90-day supply. They will do that at Walmart for a decent price. And for some reason, this doctor, she was new, she gave me a 60-day supply, and I had changed it over to Safeway, which is close to the house. So I saw the prescription said for 60 days, but they only gave me 30 days. They would only give me 30 days. And I had to come back in 30 days to get the other 30. So, I mean, I've since changed it right back to Walmart, okay? And the thing is, when you get a 90-day supply, it would be good if it was in one bottle so that you're not wasting the other two bottles. I mean, we waste enough stuff as it is, right? So I went and got my 90-day supply the other day, and that was Walmart, and they gave me 3 bottles. Each bottle had 30 pills in it, so they were already measured, already done, so it makes it easier for their job, okay? I get it. I understand. It's just when you get about how many people are taking pills and throwing plastic bottles away every month, every 3 months, whatever, that's a bunch. I'm into recycling. I'm into a lot of things like that. And these containers, yes. Those of you out there will know why I like containers, but I'm not going to spell it out for you. But the whole thing is, these containers are neat. And I think they're airtight, too. But nevertheless, I've been throwing them away because I don't have anywhere to put them, and I'm not at home, and I don't have a use for them. So there they are in the garbage. But I'm wondering if I put my bottle of BC powders in there. Surely I didn't. But so far I haven't been able to find them. And I do get headaches, and I usually take a BC powder for that headache. I just need to get all my stuff put together. I need like Mom and Dad had one. In fact, I have one of their boxes. Dad had certain things put in different places. I wonder what they did with that when they cleaned out the house. All of Dad's needles that he used went into one of his got fiber stuff. I can't think of their names, and then he would take the Great Value one instead of the other one. But the point is, he would get a bottle so big of this powder, which was fiber. I just can't think of the name. But nevertheless, he went through a bunch of those. So when he went through them, he would put it in the bottom of the china cabinet, and then he would take his needles. He had I've got it over there somewhere, but he had just a little plastic case that folded together, the top folded together, and he would put all his needles in there for a while, and then he would pour them into that big container for disposal. But I mean, it took him a long time to fill that up, and we would save the containers. It didn't take him all that long to go through those. Citronella. I'm trying. These words are coming into my head, but I can't come up with them, and that's not the right one because that is for mosquitoes, keeping mosquitoes away. And I know I rock way too much. I got to quit that. Beware, beware, beware. Talking about those elephants. The Walt Disney show with elephants. Elephants on parade or something. I'm just a silly goose. And really, when I read that last chapter, I probably should do it all by itself and not be all silly and stuff. I know I would be more professional. I would do better. I really would do a lot better. Get up, go take a shower, get your hair fixed, and no, I don't wear makeup. It's a big rigmarole. I would like to have eyeliner tattooed on my eyes, but I would want to make sure it was correct. Just a thin line. I just want a thin line to outline my eyelid. My eyes. Gives me happy eyes. So, yeah, I will do without. But I did. Once upon a time, I did wear makeup. And then I put it on and took it off and put it on and took it off and had to put grease all over my eyeballs and to pull that stuff off. And just too much trouble, okay? So yeah, I wouldn't mind the tattoo as long as I could trust the person doing it and not get my eyes hurt and all that stuff. I just would like to have my happy eyes show up. Okay. I haven't worn makeup in years, but it is a pain in the butt. I mean, it does look good, but put it on, take it off, put it on, take it off, put it on, take it off. Pull your face all around. You know, as you're getting older, you don't want to do that too much, you know. I always say, don't do that. No, I know I've been saying it for days and days. I've got to get my suitcases over here. I did start, but I've got a lot more to do. And I'm so glad to be able to take the suitcases, so I need to make the best use of it. This is my packing for moving. I will be coming back, but I'll be coming back to stay just a short while, and then I'll be driving across the country, unless for some reason I sell my car. But I like my little car. I love my little car. And I do feel like I was supposed to have it. So therefore, we're going to hope that I'm right. What was the other thing I thought I was right about? I can't remember. Because we're not always right. Yes, it's you I fall into. I was lost within the darkness, but then I found her. I found you. I love that song. And I love the man who turned me on to it. He also turned me on to Perfect by Ed somebody. Sharon or something. I'm not real good at the names and stuff, okay? Steven Sanchez for the other one, and Ed Sheeran for that one. Ghost by Justin Timberlake, I think. Those are three of our four. I don't know if I could remember the fourth one, but those are pretty neato songs. First time I listened to Perfect made me cry. I mean, literally. I don't necessarily like the word cry, but it made tears come out of my eyes, okay? And they welled up from my heart. You know what I'm saying? I don't call upon tears and have them show up, but there are things that touch my heart. Like just now. It made me cry. So I guess that's a good word. I was teaching those little primary children those songs. And I'm pretty sure one of them said something. Let's see what she said. My eyes were leaking. Someone has told me my eyes were leaking. Yeah. Salty water, people. The water that comes from in our bodies is salty. Or the ones that come out my tear ducts are. And I like salt. But I don't want to cry to get the salt, okay? There are times when I've got a headache, and it's because I've had too much sugar. I've had too much sweetness, whatever it may be from, because it's not always sugar. Sometimes it's a sweetener that is not sugar. But it is true, my eyes leak. Water be coming right out my eyeballs. And yes, I'm a hard-hearted Hannah who's got a soft heart too. So I'm not really hard-hearted. I just probably seem that way. Or maybe I've just been warmed up. My ice-cold heart has been warmed up. No, I'm not ice-cold. I don't think I was ever ice-cold, but I was maybe harsh. Be careful how you treat me because you be getting it back. And sometimes double, isn't that how it works? You know, someone gives you grief and you give it back with a little bit more, and then they give it back with a little bit more, and then you give it back with a lot more, and then the next thing you know, the person you're arguing with, who is somebody that you love, is no longer someone you love. Now that's sad. So we got to watch out for that. We want to love each other in a Christ-like manner. I know I say that a lot, but it's true. Don't be taking things the wrong way. Because love is sweet. Love is kind. Love is generous. Love is compassionate, empathetic. Love is caring about someone else and their troubles and their sorrows. And you might have already felt them yourself, so you can understand. And that's where those tears come from. Okay. So, we're going to forget about the tears. I will get over it. And I'm so glad to have my bandana. I don't understand why people won't listen to me. You know, like my sister Nancy, or maybe like anybody out there, for some reason, they'll have a headache and I'll say, "You want to put a bandana on?" "No." And my boyfriend, he had a headache this morning. So I told him the same thing. I've told him that before several times. "Have you ever tried my bandana trick?" "No." I mean, I know people don't want to wear a bandana, right? I don't know why. I mean, sometimes I think I look much better with it on. But that's also because I haven't got my hair done and my hair's thinning out. I'm not very happy about that. I know, what a stupid statement. I make a lot of stupid statements. You know, nobody's going to want to lose their hair. Nobody's going to want to have a headache, and etc., etc., etc. I am glad to find out that there are things out there that I can do to make me look better. I just need to do it. Now, I would love to have my own little, and little is fine. I don't need anything real big. However, that's debatable. My creative juices flow. Excuse me, and then I tend to take over everywhere because I'm in manufacturing mode. I mean, that first job that I had, that was an actual real job, okay, because I did work for two or three fast food places, you know, like, I don't know what that one was called. And some might have even rode on roller skates, I don't know. See, the first thing that came to my mind was Sonic, but I don't know about that. And we are talking when I was 18, 17. I went out and worked at the Arctic Circle. That was up in Salt Lake, up State Street. And then this other place. And I'm not sure if there was another one. Maybe there was just the two. I was trying to make a little money because I didn't feel like I could spend any money. You people out there, I'm talking about you young girls and you young newlyweds and even 5 years later down the road. If you don't think that the money he makes at his job is not half yours, you're a nut. Look at all the things that you do for your little family, even though they've just begun, okay? He goes to work. He comes home. He gets a nice meal. He gets to do whatever he wants. And what are you doing? You are making that meal. You are cleaning up, washing the dishes, taking care of business, getting ready for the next day, making lunches, and cleaning the house on the weekends anyway. But this is my point. You don't think that you earn your keep, baby? You do. He's got it made in the frickin' shade. And what have you got? So that you can spend a little bit of money and feel like it's okay because you earned it outside of the house? What do you think you're doing around that house? Are you sitting on your butt? Is he serving you? I mean, we do need to think about these things. And we need to tell our young children when they're out there getting married, that is not their calling in life. Yeah, I'm yelling. I'm sorry. I do tend to get a little loud, especially when I'm a little upset about things. Yeah, I begged to be able to go to work. He didn't want me to go to work. I'm talking about my first marriage, and I was only 17 when I got married. But by God, every bit of that money that he made, at least half of it was mine. But I didn't feel like I could spend it. I didn't feel like I could go out and spend it because I didn't earn it. Well, hey, stinking thinking, children. First of all, when you get married, that man should love you to pieces. He should put you up on a pedestal and he should treat you like a queen. Serious biz. If you don't have that type of love from your man, then you don't need that man. I'm serious. But see, a lot of times we inflict that on ourselves. Because he did tell me that was one of the things that he didn't like, is that he couldn't buy me stuff. Because I was so worried about saving money, so worried about not spending it all, so worried about what I didn't need to worry about. Because he would have bought me what I needed or what I wanted. I just didn't ask for it. Okay? So, a lot of stinking thinking's going on in our own little heads. I did get mad at him. I mean, I got us into a brand new house before we'd even been married a year. And I got it for a cheap price The monthly payments were cheap. Everything. I did wonderful. But he was he was in a frenzy nervous about it all. But you're going to pay rent somewhere. You're going to pay rent somewhere. And this was a low income program. Okay, they still have them today, people. You find out. You go and make an appointment. Find out if you qualify. There is no harm in that. In fact, I should go do it again. You know, at this late date in my life, if I need a place to live, they've got programs. They've got programs where you can rent. They might have programs where you can rent to own, but I'm just saying they've also got low income rental units. So like people in my position that need to go out into the world, they don't have anything. Well, they're either going to have help paying the rent, or maybe there's a program they can get a hold to. You know, and then there's other ways to look at these programs, okay? Because my mom and dad, one day there was auctions going on in Perryton, okay? And I had told them about it. I ran in and told them about it. And there was one right across the street being auctioned off. And what these were tax auctions and maybe someone died auctions or something. But they bought 5 houses that day. Very cheap. I mean, the prices were astronomically cheap. And this had nothing to do with one of those low-income housing programs, okay? This was, there were different things going on, but there were houses sold for taxes owed. But it would be put on the court steps, okay? It was put at the court steps, and it was the highest bidder. So they had to get at least what the taxes were. And then you bid up, and whoever had the highest bid was able to get it. Okay, so just for instance, the house across the street from Mom and Dad. Actually, it was across the street from me. I lived right, when we first moved to Texas, okay, Mom and Dad bought a house. And with that house came a little house, a mother-in-law apartment that was quite prevalent there. We saw it all the time, where there was a little house built on the same property for your in-laws. And actually for your children. If you have grown-up children and they're leaving the home, they want to not be at your house, but, you know, then they can be close. Most children don't want to be that close to their parents. However, I'm talking too much. My coffee's getting cold again. I'm really good at that. But, so, this one day, the house I told them about that was on the auction block, they got it for $1,000. I mean, it was very little. It was 1 bedroom, 1 living room, 1 kitchen, and a bathroom. But it had a yard. I mean, it was a house with a lot. You don't hardly find that these days. Oh no, you got to pay rent on the lot. Okay, I'll try to not gripe. However, okay, so there was that house. And then there was a house across town, which is one that I ended up getting. But Mom and Dad bought it, and they were able to get that one for $1,300. Now that one was bigger. It had 2 bedrooms, a family room, a living room, a kitchen, 1 bathroom, and then it had 2 lots. And actually it had 3 lots, but I had one of those got taken away from me. I was so mad about that, but Dad wouldn't do anything about it, which really makes me mad too. But you know, it's like he said, you got good, you did good, don't worry about it. Well, I like land. And it was supposed to be mine. I mean, when my deed comes and everything, it's got the measurements where I'm going, where's my other 50 feet? There's 50 feet missing across the front, okay? But Dad felt like we got such a good deal, I shouldn't worry about it. that may be true, but what really happened, I bet you anything, what happened is someone was kind of squatting in it, and I think they might have been paying the taxes, and they just got to keep it. That was not right. I felt like I'd been cheated. However, I had also gained, because what I had was, let's see how many, yeah, I got 90 feet. 90 feet across the front. And I can't remember for a fact what the length was, from the front to the back. I can't remember. But it was a good size. It was a very good size yard. And then there was a long garage on the side, which was dilapidated. The house was dilapidated, people. Okay, I didn't get a beautiful, wonderful house with all that land for so cheap, unless it would have been that way. Okay, it was not in good shape. But I didn't have to have it in good shape. I was just really thrilled. And so Mom and Dad bought that for $1,300, and they allowed me to buy it for $1,500, which was right before my taxes came in. So that covered any interest or whatever. And I did the deed work. I mean, I can do the deeds. Your house deed. Not just talking about doing good deeds. But I did do a good deed. Anyway, point was, I was allowed to buy that for $1,500. And here's the deal. My mother would have never, ever lived in that house. Okay? It wasn't in the best of shape. But it was good enough for me. And my daughter was living with me too. And it was a very, very, very good thing. Okay, so then they got 3 other houses. What were the other houses they got that day? I don't remember all the prices. I know that they got one. I think they got one for $7,500. And it was like in the middle of town. And, we're talking about a little town, people. Okay, like maybe 7,000 people total. I can't remember exactly, but I'm thinking around 7. And there was another one that was around 7. And there was another one. Now this last one I'm going to tell you about was a different deal, and I'm not quite sure what they ended up paying for that one. But the thing was, I'm not going to remember what the thing was. Oh, they couldn't do anything with it, or they felt like they couldn't do anything with it for a while because it was a tax deal. And so what happened was they got it for a certain price, but anything they put into it, see, I don't know if they really realized that. It's just they didn't want to put all the work into it. I think it needed a new roof, and it needed some stuff. And I just don't remember what they got it for. But with that type of a deal in that town, in that county, the house, the people who owned the house that it was taken away from because of delinquent taxes, they could come back within 3 years, I think it was. I'm going to put that time frame on it. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. They could come back within 3 years and buy that house back for the taxes. However, there was something added, meaning they would have to give you the money that you spent on that house fixing it up, also besides the back taxes, in order to take that house. But Mom and Dad, I don't know if they knew all that, but it was a lot of work, and they just weren't into doing all that work and then having someone come back and take it away from them. So that house just it just sat empty, but they owned it, okay? But then after the allotted time, they did fix it up. They did keep it. So that was the 5 houses, okay? 2 pretty cheap, and the rest were cheap, just not as cheap as what I got mine for. I was totally happy to pay you know, your income tax that you get back once a year. I was totally happy to give them that. And then I had a house paid for. So wonderful to not have to pay rent and to worry about being kicked into the street. Because when I moved to Perryton, that was the case. I was renting, but I was basically evicted. I had to move, I had to get out so I could really feel the blessing of not having to pay rent. That way they can't do that to you. They can still take your frickin' house. Same way mom and dad got that one. It was a tax. I don't know if you'd call it a tax lien, but it was for back taxes. That's the reason those people lost their house, and that's the reason mom and dad got it. And some people that don't quite understand me, that are members of my family, they got that all wrong in their head. You know, there was their house. I'll just say somebody I know. Their house was fixing to be taken away from them because of back taxes. And I had come to town and I was trying to give them advice and I was trying to help. And I was also, the reason I knew what was going on was because, I think my sister had told me something. But anyway, what am I trying to say? Okay, so I knew about these auctions because mom and dad bought those houses, okay? That's how I got mine. And then my house in Downs, my big house in Downs, that went up on the auction block. I sure as hell didn't get it that cheap. Um, but I was hoping. I had just met Joe, and I had gone to the town where he lived, which was Downs, and I went to the town to meet him. We spent I'm not sure if it was only 3 days, but it wasn't very long that we spent together. I was on my way back to work. I know I scatter a lot, okay? I was living in Perryton. And I went and got my daughter and her children, and Dean, Dean, who was the father of her children at that time, um, was living in Seattle. And so I was living in Perryton, that's the top of Texas, in the Panhandle, and I went to my daughter's, which was in Denver area, picked her and the children up. But actually, I think what it was I drove there, and then Jessica drove, and I went with her. And we went up to the family reunion, which was in, I want to say Bear Lake, but I'm not sure where it was. It doesn't really matter. Went up to a family reunion, and we only stayed a short time because our purpose was going up to Seattle to take the children to be with their dad for a while. I don't know if it was for a month or what. But anyway, so we went to the family reunion, and then we left there and went up to Seattle. So, I mean, we left from the top of Texas and went clear up to Seattle, okay? And what was the point? Okay, so the point was, after all of that, surely we didn't go that far just for them to see him for a couple of days. That would be crazy. But we did go up there to see Dean. And then we left there and went. And so what I'm trying to say is I don't know if it was just me and Jesse that left there or if it was me and Jesse and the kids. But we left there and went down to Utah, where Jessica's dad lives. And then we went to Colorado, which is where Jessica lived. Well, it was a strange situation, okay? Because I had been on these single sites for the church. I was single, And everybody's so far away. So when you're wanting to meet somebody, it's a big deal. How do you get to them? How do they get to you? La, la, la. And so, what am I trying to say? I had just opened the door with a lot of guys. Maybe not a lot, a few guys, okay? And I was going on this trip anyway. So I tried to set up a few dates where we could meet each other while I was in the neighborhood. And that worked. But here's the thing, I met Joe. I met Joe right before I left home to go on that trip. And so he was in Downs, Kansas. And on the way back home to the top of Texas, Perryton, on my way back home to Perryton, see, the deal was, it was either now or never, most likely, that I go see him, because he was kind of on my route. I was real nervous. I didn't really want to go do that. And I probably should not ought have done that. But Jessica's husband at the time talked me into it. Bad Rob, bad Rob. There's good and bad that came out of that union. Okay, I can't say it was totally bad. But the point is, I was scared to even talk to anybody, much less go and find them and meet them and all that stuff. And so we got back to Colorado. Seems like there was something wrong with my car. I can't remember. But nevertheless, I made arrangements to go see Joe. Because if I'd have passed, if I'd have passed where he was and went down to Perryton, Texas, I would have never met him. I'm sure of that. It takes a big deal to be able to go and do that. And like I was working, so once I got back to work, I wasn't going to be going anywhere. Okay? And yeah, I was working at Pizza Hut. You only get vacation once a year, and I was on my vacation. But I just know, it's like I was talking earlier about that back burner. Put something on the back burner, guess what? It never happens. And sometimes you do, got to take the bull by the horns. And what do they call it? Buck up. I don't know what the word is that they call it, but I've heard my daughter call it, put on your big girl panties or something. But no, I went to meet him. And when I went to meet him, the next day, we went up to the store. It was a store that had a deli type of thing, so you could sit and have your coffee or have a sandwich or have whatever food they had. Because this is a small town, okay? A town of 1,000 people. They have 2 service stations that serve food. So we went up to one of the service stations, which is like a Minute Mart. Sorry, I keep rubbing my nose. So any old who, while I'm there with him at that store, there's this newspaper. And I opened it up. And a whole full-page ad. A full-page ad for this house that was on the auction block in Downs. Okay? This house that I'm talking about was huge. It was old. It was older, way older, but it was very nice as far as people wanted it. Okay? There were people wanting it. And what the deal was, this is what I was trying to get at all this time, is that I knew about houses sold on the auction block for taxes. And I saw this ad, and across the front of the page in really big numbers and bold numbers said 1,333. 333. Those are my numbers. Okay? I felt like I was supposed to have that house. But see, I was also thinking that the taxes were going to be the price, because that's how it was in other places. You know, they did, they went after the taxes, and it probably didn't matter what condition the house was in, if it was really nice or what, you know. I mean, I did call and talk to some people about it, and it would have been a wonderful, great, super deal if that's what it would have been for, okay? $1,333. But that's not what it went for. It was it was so these people could go into a nursing home. They had to sell everything they had, everything that they had in order to go into this nursing home, which isn't right, people. They shouldn't have to do that. But they did. They sold everything. And so what happened was the house was for sale, the car was for sale, the furniture was for sale, everything was for sale. And so family members, I don't know how many members of the family were there, but I got the house. I had called these people, the auctioneer and all that, and got some information on the house. So they had already previously told me that they needed to get about 31,000 out of that house. That was a lot. And I was not rich, okay? But I'd been stashing money away because I worked for Pizza Hut and I was a delivery driver. And so there were tips, which I had been stashing. Other people probably have this secret that I'm telling you right now, and that is that, what is it? Okay, I had a place to hide my money, which, you know, maybe you'd look for it if you were a thief, but maybe you wouldn't think to look there. And it was in a shirt. I had a shirt in a closet, okay? And there's two sleeves, right? So I tied a knot in one of the shirt sleeves and stuck it on the inside of my closet so people wouldn't, you know, even think about that. I wouldn't think anyway, because I'm not a crook. Tend to think like they are. When you're not of that mindset, you know, you just don't think of things like that. But nevertheless, I just stashed my stuff for a long time, year and a half, 2 years. I don't know how long it was, but the point was I had some money set aside. Until, this is a whole different story, but until there was a fire. There was a fire coming, and everybody was being evacuated. And what if I couldn't have gotten into that house and gotten my money? What if it had just burned up? You know what I mean? So after that whole situation, I took that money and put it in the bank because there was a record of it, and I should be able to get it, you know, instead of losing it. But anyway, with the money that I had saved, and then the credit cards, I was able to get money out of the credit cards, just not a whole lot, okay? Just a little bit here and there. I mean, in other words, I have 6 credit cards, maybe 7. Just was trying to pull everything together. See, that's one of those tricks that Carlton Sheets tells you about. Credit cards. Sometimes you can get money from your credit cards so that you can buy a small, cheap house. Just depends on what you got going on. But I had been saving, and then I don't know what the then is, but the point is, I found out about that house, and they told me 31,000 was what it was going to go for, and I'm going, oh my God, I can't do that, you know. But I had like 4 weeks, I think, I don't even know if I had 4 weeks to put it all together before they were going to auction that house off. I think it was only 2 weeks. They were going to auction that house off 2 weeks later. And then I had 4 weeks to come up with the money. I had to have a certain amount the day of the auction, or they wouldn't have let me take it. Not that I took it anywhere, but the point was I made a bid for the house, and then I was able to put the percentage down to hold it. The house was old, way old, but it was built of brick. And it was huge. It was a huge house, 68 feet long, but that 68 feet long included a triple car garage and a shop. So the house itself was not 68 feet long, okay? And there was an upstairs and a downstairs. It was like one of those things where you go in and then you either go upstairs or you go downstairs to the rest of the house. Thank you. Anyway, there's a whole big old story I can tell to go with that house, and there's lots of other stories I could tell to go with that house. I need to write up so many outlines. And there are some of you that would be interested, because there are ways to get a house without having to go to the bank and beg for a loan. And then they tell you it's a certain percentage of interest, and then you get there and your credit's not as good, and so then they jack up the interest way up there. These are things you need to know about. But anyway, so the point is, I was able to buy that house, but not without some Penangering. Does that make any sense, Penanger? Nevertheless, it was a wonderful house, wonderful house. I didn't like the way it was laid out. I really didn't like the way it was laid out, but still, it was a wonderful house. I know there had to have been a tornado there one day. I could hear it outside like a train. It just was like a train going by, and really close, like right outside my window, okay? Siren didn't go off. We didn't know what was going on. Next day, got up to the whole town cleaning up, because the town was a mess. Everything everywhere. So they were going to spend a lot of time cleaning up the roads and getting rid of trees and different things. So what was the point about that? I mean, I don't know exactly where I began that I mentioned all that, except for that it was an auction block. I got it on the auction block. And I would call it a wonderful house because of how stable. You know, build your house on a rock. Build your house on a strong foundation. Your marriage, too. So I forget what I want to say about all that. The main thing is, you can do good if you start early, put some money aside, keep putting money aside. God has helped me. I have been blessed. You can just see it. Timing is just right. Here I am in a strange place. I'm meeting up with this guy. Yes, we spent the night together. And the very next day we go up to the store. I open up this paper and boom, there's this house. And in my head, I'm thinking, okay, $1,333 for that house. But then I called and they told me, oh no. But I was the one who was able to get that house. And then again, the people in the community weren't very happy, because here's a stranger that came from the outside of town and bought that house. And then I didn't live in it for 2 years because I had a job going on in Perryton I had to take care of, and I had a house there. I mean, it was just all up in the air. I didn't know what I was going to be doing. Took a chance, a big chance. Fly by the seat of my pants. Anyway, Just goes to show that timing is everything. And maybe being blessed by the Lord comes with who you are. You understand? It was wonderful. Simply marvelous. Now I will get two houses mixed up. So you're going to see a theme here. Perryton, Texas. I bought that little house I told you about for $1,500. And I worked for my dad, but I didn't have to pay rent. So it was like part of my income. Because when we moved there, I was promised such and such. And it just didn't work out, okay? It just did not work out the way we thought it would. Because they bought that propane company, which didn't turn out to be what it was supposed to be. I don't know if you can understand that, but Mom and Dad and my Uncle Dale bought a propane company, and I believe they were lied to about a lot of things. One being the people who owned the propane company were not very well liked. The man was not very well liked. And then we had part of the company, there were propane tanks all over the place out in the country, okay? But we didn't know where they were. We didn't know we owned them and what to do about all that. And see, the deal is, no one else is supposed to fill up your propane tank. If you have propane tanks set, a different propane company cannot come in and fill them up, or they're not supposed to. But they did. There was just a lot of things working against us there in that town called Perryton. There's more stories I could tell, but I'm not going to, and I've gotten way away from what I was talking about. But Dad let me buy that house because things just weren't, I was promised all kinds of stuff. I was promised good wages, and I was promised a company car, that I could just not have to worry about paying things on it. I could just use it. And that just didn't pan out. I wonder if they're talking about panning for gold. You know, our expressions that we have, we get expressions from all kinds of places. But go back to that very first auction. See, and I was talking about a different one just now. I know you can't keep up with me. I'm sorry. So, Mom and Dad bought those houses for a couple of reasons. Maybe 3 or 4 reasons. In other words, the propane company wasn't going to pan out. They were not going to be able to pay their bills. They had all kinds of stuff tied up in that, selling everything and moving across country. So it worked out. I got burps, I'm sorry. It worked out in the long run, okay? I was able to get that house for Mom and Dad for very little and not have to pay rent, and that was Dad's solace, that I had at least, I didn't have to pay rent. Okay, so that was, in our mind's eye, we were considering that compensation for not being able to have a good wage. And it really worked out. It really did work out in the long run. Okay, so I got to go back to the other, don't know how to get back to the other auctions, okay, because I bought a different house in Perryton. And what had happened was my plumbing was no good. And in order for it to be good, they had to do everything. They wanted anyway, because they don't always have to do that. They might have just wanted work, you know. Anyway, the point was he would not fix my plumbing unless I did everything. And I couldn't afford to do everything. This was later down the road. This was not in the very beginning. So I started looking for another house, okay? And my sister Nancy was moving to town. So we were looking for Nancy a house. We were looking for houses. And then my mother has always been into houses, okay? And here she is. She's wanting to buy this house. And I'm not sure if she found it or I found it. Because I was part of it. I was a part of everything, okay? Part of the company, part of mom and dad. I was the only one living there. And I was a secretary, executive, assistant. And then I took the test and became qualified to be the manager. So dad could leave and go make some good money somewhere else. So me and my mother and the guy that worked there with me, dad taught us. He taught pretty good. I got a 97 on my test. We did get a little bit of help on the answers, but not, I mean, they were just trying to make sure that we passed so that dad could leave. And I got a 97. That was with a little bit of assistance on a couple questions. But what was the point in that? All I know is through a lot of perseverance, we were able to make things work. And I wasn't of a mind to stay in that town. So basically, I was saying, this is a way to get me to stay. Let me have that house. And I'll pay you with my income taxes when they come in. And I'll pay you a little bit of interest. But not a lot. Not a lot of anything, just. So, me and dad and mom had that settled. So they asked me which house did I want. Because the house right straight across the street from where I was living was $1,000. But and it only had one lot, okay. But across town, in the lower income area, was that other house. So it wasn't right next to mom and dad. It wasn't right across the street from mom and dad. And I did things that mom and dad didn't like, okay? One being smoke pot. One being drinking. Plus, you just don't like everybody looking over your shoulder at what you're doing. So, and not only that, that house that I chose, like I said, it had 2 lots. It was 90 feet wide. What it was one full lot that was 50 feet wide, and then it had 10 feet missing from the other lot. So instead of being 50 feet, it was 40. And then there was supposed to be another lot for 50 that had a trailer on it. I don't even like thinking about that because I like to smack someone upside the head. I did let them know about it. They didn't want to talk to me. They did not want to talk to me. And I wasn't trying to be mean. I just wanted my land. and basically they just let the other person have it. They left it like it was. But see, my deed, when I got my deed, it's showing me 140 feet across the front. And I'm going, where's my other 50 feet? So I got 90 feet. I didn't get 140 feet. But that's okay. I still did really well. So that's the whole point. Dad just didn't want to mess with it because he felt like I did good enough. And I guess I did. But thank God. So, okay, I was going to tell you about this other place. So my plumbing's all bad, and they're going to condemn it is what they're going to do. And we couldn't take baths. I had no running water. So, I find this house. And I really can't remember if me and Mom both who sought after it because I was looking. I had nowhere to live, so I was looking. And I also had no money, as far as except for my job. I didn't know how I was going to pay for anything. And then the auction came up, okay? So This house was 17,000. I want to say $150, but you know, that's the same price as my first house I had when I was 17. I bought my first house when I was 17. I was married to Kevin, and I went and did it on a low-income program, which Kevin had a fit about. Seems like he even said he almost committed suicide over that, or had suicidal thoughts over that. I did us the biggest favor ever. But anyway, I paid $17,150 for that house. That was the one I moved in before I graduated. So I wasn't even 18 yet. So I'm trying to remember and put it in chronological order here. I can't. But that was in my first marriage. So we're going to talk about way later down the road. Anyway, I bought that house. And I bought that other house. It would just seem like I'd be buying a lot of houses. So that's what I was going to say. My mother wanted that house. She didn't want to let me have it, even though I needed it and she didn't. But she told me if I could get that house without their help, then she'd let me have it. But otherwise, she was going to take it. I didn't think that was very nice. It really wasn't very nice. But I found a way to get the money without their help. And so I was able to buy that house. It's a lovely little house. It was a 3-bedroom, hardwood floors, but really nothing really great special except for, to me it was, you know, because it was a rambler, and I had a house with a room to sleep in, and I had a carport, and there wasn't a family room at the time. But the whole point is I was able to get the house, and here's the deal for you people. Sometimes credit cards can work in your favor, but not always. You don't want to be paying a credit card for a house. But if it's the only way you can get it and you need it, you're going to be living on, you know, not really living on the streets. I still had my house, but I wouldn't have had any plumbing. Okay. So, auctions. This house was a short sale. What that means is bank's not involved. Unless you're already approved and you got financing from a bank. But usually, and this is why I won the auction, because I offered cash. I offered cash, and I offered to... See, when you go to buy a house, the house usually has to pass inspections. You know what I'm saying? So, when you buy a house on a short sale thing, it's between you and the person who's selling the house. And so, I mean, they knew. I told them. I mean, I made my offer, a cash offer. And they took it. I mean, right at first, I don't think they did. I'm not sure if I had to figure out something or not, but what I found out, though, was that someone else had put a bid in that was higher than mine. But they sold it to me because I had cash, because I offered cash. Instead of worrying about inspections and anything. They don't have to worry about anything, you know, except for just getting the money. And so that's what they did. They chose to go with the cash and not worry about all this other crap that would have gone with the higher bid. So I'm just telling you, there are good things that have to do with stuff like that. Short sales are wonderful. And I mean, I took Carlton Sheets' course on real estate, and he had a buddy that he was an investor, and he was into helping people out, but helping himself out. Okay, and so one of the deals was see if I can pull it together in my little head. Um, this is what they were teaching us out of, okay? It had nothing to do with me. But he made relationships between him and the bank. Him and maybe a few banks, okay? He went in and talked to the people in charge who knew everything, had the ability to do something with him, to work with him. And so he went into this one place. These people were trying to sell their house before they lost it. Okay, it was about to be repossessed by the bank. And so this guy talked to the bank people and found out what he needed to do. And then he went and talked to the people, because the bank told him, the people, their name and address and all that stuff, all the details, okay? So he went and talked to those people, and he worked a deal. He worked a deal with the people who were about to lose their house. Okay, they were about to lose it. So the option of having him come in and save the day was a no-brainer, as they say. Okay? He made it so that they could keep their house. He took over their mortgage. So he took over their mortgage and also created a mortgage between him and these people. I don't have my all right here at my recollection, but it's a really good deal. You go in and you make a deal with the people, or you make a deal with the bank and you talk to the people and you let them stay there but pay rent. So instead of paying the mortgage to the bank, they're paying rent to you, okay? So it saves them a lot of things. It saves their dignity. It makes it to where they can live in a house that they've been living in forever and don't have to move. It saves it from being repossessed. It allows them to live in their own house. And he might have even given them a smaller payment, because he would write up a whole different contract with them, okay? So it's an idea. If you've got money and you want to save people, you go in and you save the day, and then you pay off their mortgage, and these people make payments to you. And I probably left something out in there, but you get the idea. There are ways to buy houses without going to the bank. And like my little house that I've been telling you guys about in Kansas, okay? That's my house. There's not a bank involved. I am the bank. So it changes the dynamic of the deals that we can make. What can you put up with? What can you accept? You know what I'm saying? Okay, I think I've talked way too much. It's over an hour. That was actually, it had a 33. Me and my 33s, I know. But see, look what happened. It got me in trouble, or did it? That house that I bought in Downs, Kansas, it ended up being $31,000. But I was able to pull it off. But then what? Then I've got this lovely, huge house out in the middle of frickin' nowhere in Kansas. I don't live there. I got a job going on where I do live, which is in Perryton, Texas, okay? I was living in that house I was just describing to you. Yeah, I don't know how I would have redone that house. I did not like the layout, but then I liked it too. And the other thing I liked was it had a half acre. I had a half acre of land, humongous trees, not like the redwoods, but big trees. Lived on the edge of town. And at that time we didn't have a fence. Joe built the fence. But all you had to do was go out and look, and there was just land for massive land, acres and acres and acres, hunting, fishing. Anyway, that's enough of that. So I have, through the years, bought houses at the auction. Something to think about, people, especially if you're making money. Don't be spending every damn dime you got. Put some money aside. Understand? I mean, there's other things I can tell you to help. I want to help people, but they just think I'm crazy in the head. They think they got it going on. And in many instances, they do. But say, for instance, let's just say, for instance, you get a big bunch of money or a sum of money, and you're trying to decide what to do with it. And you have a house, and you've got a big payment. Part of that payment is interest, and part of that payment is principal, and then there was insurance involved and taxes. When you go buy a house from the bank, these are all the factors, okay? You have to pay insurance on that house. You can't have a loan from a bank and not pay for insurance on that house. So they put it as a part of the loan, okay? So part of your loan, when it's spread out on this amortization sheet, you've got your house. There's a principal. That's how much you owe, okay? That's how much you owe on the house. And then there's different things. So there's the house, which is the principal. Then there's the interest that you're paying every month. And so, okay, you start with the full amount up here. That's the principal. And then the things that are divided up, there's the principal. There's the interest. There's the insurance. And there's the property taxes. So, my advice, and it's still up for debate, because you got all these factors and you just have to figure out what is the best thing for you to do. Depends on what you're going to do. So you make sure when you get your loan that you got an amortization sheet, okay? And what that does is it prints off every single payment you're going to make on that house, every single one. So you got a 30-year contract, you got 30 years worth of payments. And then it's all spelled out. Each payment has a certain amount of principal, a certain amount of interest, a certain amount of property taxes, a certain amount of, what's that other thing? Insurance, okay? All those things have to be paid every month. So just here's an idea. I know most of you know all about it, but there's still more to it that you don't, unless you've really thought about it, okay? You've got, let's just say, we all spend what we get, okay? Sometimes we got extra, but we're still spending it. But in the meantime, what I'm trying to tell you is you make your first payment, your second payment, your third payment, and on that amortization sheet, things change. Every month, your principal will go down some, not very much. So your principal and your interest and everything. Well, when you make, let's just say you make one payment. You haven't sent it in yet, okay? And you look at your amortization sheet, and there you have your payments. I'm trying to figure out how to say what I'm trying to say. So you're going to make a payment. If you have any extra money to put on that house, that's when you do it, when you make the payment. You make a full payment for everything. And then you say, okay, however much the principal payment is, how many of those can you afford? And it is going to go down a little bit each month, okay, the principal. So let's just say it's 125. I'm just throwing numbers out there, okay? We'll say it's $125 extra, or that's what's going to go down on the principal the next month. And then it could be 123 and 122, whatever. I'm just giving you numbers, okay? So here you go. You've got your payment. It's already ready to go. And you look over here at your amortization sheet, and then you've got, let's just say that you're only paying, it don't matter what you're paying. We'll say 200. Say $200 a month is going on your principal, okay? So you've got your, I'm just throwing out numbers. So you say you got a $1,200 payment here. And then, oh, let's see, well, how much extra do I have that I don't absolutely need? Let's just say you've got $600 extra. So you add the $600 to that payment. Put it in all at the same time. So what have you done? You have made a payment, and you have made 3 extra payments to go with it. So you've actually paid 4 months instead of 1. And you've done it with just as little as $600. I don't know if you guys are grasping what I'm trying to tell you. These numbers are make-believe. I'm just doing it so that you can see how this amortization thing starts, okay? So we'll say your principal's 200, and then the next one is 295. Did I say 200? 195, and then the next one is 180. Just for the sake of the example, okay? So you've been able to add less than $600 to your payment. You paid 3 extra payments just by doing that, because your one original is going to be a payment. But then whatever you add to it, I mean, it probably doesn't matter if you go by exacts, but the reason I want to go by exacts is because I want to follow. I want to follow that amortization sheet, okay? So I've made this payment, and then I could put a little bracket thing around the next 3 payments and say paid. So then I know what the principal is for that 5th payment, because you already paid 4. You understand? So little by little, you can add extra instead of out there willy-nilly. Okay, what can I buy myself? But the point is, it's building up your equity in your home. And it's not building up that much, but let's just say you stay in your home forever. You're taking up 4 payments off the tail end of your, well, it's not really coming off the tail end, but it is, because you're going to continue. The very next month, you still got to make that payment, okay? And depending on if you can or can't, you don't have to pay extra. But the idea is to pay it. Now, so let's just say your principal is just like that $200 or less. But then let's say that your payment itself is $2,000. Trying to draw you guys a picture. I'm not doing a very good job, but let's just say that you're able to do it and you follow the instructions I've just given you. Off the tail end is how many months are you not going to have to pay that full payment. Are you understanding me? So like if you were just going to stay in that house forever and you've got a 30-year loan, and you're making payments and adding according to those payments, then you will know how many you're going to not have to pay in the end. But what I'm trying to say really is a matter of a savings account and your interest rate that you're getting when you think you're not getting any interest at all. Every single payment that you don't have to pay off the end is a full payment. So we'll say $2,000, and so 4 times 2,000 is 8,000. So that is where you save money. You haven't had to make those payments and that interest. I hope you guys understand because I can't think long enough to figure it out anymore. It's just real easy. And you don't, I'm sure you probably don't have to do that, whereas be so particular about each payment. You might have a $2,000 payment and say, okay, you have to make that payment. But anything you add on goes towards the house. So say you paid 500 extra, you paid 300 extra. It all goes on to the house. But see, when you do it that way, it's kind of willy-nilly and you can't see. You can't keep track of how far you should be. I just think it's better the other way, myself, because then I will know how much I need to pay. I don't want to pay just a little bit, but if that works, I mean, if it works and that's all you got extra each month, then you do that. But the point is, it's a way to save a lot of money. And you want to do it in the very beginning of your loan because that's when the principal is low. If you wait until you've already paid on the house 15 years, well, guess what? You're not going to do as well. I mean, you still do it, but you will not do as well. I hope you understand what I'm saying. I just really do like to see what is the principal and how much is going on the house. And then if you keep track, you know exactly how much you were supposed to pay. So even if you can only pay one extra payment, you don't have to go great guns, balls of fire, or whatever. But you will save a lot of money. And you want, like I said, you want to do it in the beginning of your loan. So, I've already gone way over an hour. I need to get off here. I need to probably go eat some food. I still haven't done that very well. No, it's amazing. It's just been a real busy day, but I haven't gotten very far. You understand that too? Any old who. We'll see if anybody's home. They weren't home last time I went down to look. And yes, I still have all that work to do. All of that work to do. But I'm feeling better. I'm feeling better. I need to, I did take a pain pill, so I'm doing better in that way. And Aleve is good. I mean, I don't know how good it is. That Naproxen, is that the name of it? This generic Aleve. Supposed to be, I think, for 12 hours, though, so I don't know how long. I was always afraid that it wasn't going to work and then I was going to have to wait all those hours to take it, take more medicine. I know I just want it to work. I don't want to be in pain. And it comes from when I was young. When I was young, I was plagued with headaches and it hurt. And it would make me sick. I mean, what do they call it? I never called them that. Migraines. I was plagued with really bad headaches. But migraines is what they were. I couldn't handle the headache and I couldn't control. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I just don't want to have a headache. Because I do get sick. I get sick with my headaches. So the best thing to do is stop it before it gets to you. And I do that as best as I can. I will feel it coming on and I know I've got to do something or I'm going to be miserable. And I think way back then I didn't know about the bandana. I knew this is a trick for you people and you should pay attention, especially if you're plagued with headaches, okay? And I can't really show it very well, but we know that we have these things called temples. These are our temples, okay? And you won't have a bandana on, we'll just say. And you'll feel it pulsate. Every time your heart beats, it pops out of your head, okay? So then what I would do, you can do it with just one finger, but I've lately just went ahead and done 3. Just lay your fingers across where that pound is. And then take your thumb, and if you can, like if it's down here and you can put your thumb in this fat stuff right here, the pound is going to go down your finger. It's going to go boom, boom, boom. But you will feel it in your finger, but it will not hurt. And so part of getting rid of the headache is to not be in pain, for one thing, because that's what's going to happen. You're going to be in so much pain that you're trying to hold your head together. So I just find the pulse, and then I put my thumb under here on the fatty part. Okay? But what I found out recently is you don't have to necessarily even do that. You might even can just put it on your face or somewhere else. The point is to get that pound to go down your finger, because if so, you don't hurt. It does not hurt. And then part of getting rid of the pain that I had so long ago, I couldn't handle the light, I couldn't handle the noise. So you get it there and you just hold it ever so gently, and you'd hold that, and this pound is going down your finger, but you don't feel it. So part of getting rid of your headache is being able to lay your head down and go to sleep. You can't do that. You cannot do that if you're in so much pain. Understand? And that is a good way to get rid of the headache right there. So I got my thumb in my forehead, my fingers in my forehead, and they're done. All right, we'll stop that. I can put myself to sleep. But that's a wonderful thing, to be able to put yourself to sleep. Because normally what I would do is, if I could go to sleep, say I woke up in a half an hour or something, then I would feel all better. Understand? And when I was a very young child, I had headaches. And I would be inside laying down while the other kids were outside playing. So if I'd have known that hack that I just gave you guys, but I was too young. And the adults didn't understand my pain. They didn't know what I was going through. I mean, they knew enough to put me down on a cot, but outside the window I could hear all the other kids playing. You think that made me happy? No, it did not. So when you have children that are having problems with their little head, figure out a way to help them. And Nancy's told me recently she uses ice. She'll put an ice pack on the back of her head, and that gets rid of it. So that's something to think about too. All I know is, no, headaches. Nobody likes headaches, but we do need to have a little more empathy for our little children, because they don't know how to tell you. And they be in pain, they be hurting. And I know I talk funny. That's just the way I are. I like to say that too. I had a friend named Beverly, and her grandson made a statement to her or something. I don't know where I are. It made me laugh, okay? And so ever since then, probably, I've been using that. I just think it's cute. But it's not cute for little kids to have headaches, I can tell you, firsthand. So I've told you a lot of things in this video. I wonder if you grasp onto them. I wonder if you listen to the whole thing. Auctions are good things. And it is, you got to be prepared. You got to be able to get the money. You can't bid on it and not have the money. You have to have the money. I was telling you about that one auction, okay? I wasn't trying to take somebody's house. I came here, I came up to Washington, and there was, I mean, I got a list. I got a list of all these houses that were on the auction block. I mean, the people had a chance to come up with the money, and they weren't necessarily going to stay on the auction block, but a lot of people are looking at the list and trying to find out if they can bid and if they have the money and you know. So someone thought I was trying to take their house. I would never do that. Never do that. But if they were going to lose that house, wouldn't it be better if I got it than a stranger? I had no idea that someone was thinking about me like that. I was just trying to get a house up here where my family was. I was trying to move back home. And someone was going to get that house. Unless the people got it themselves, and they had every chance. And what happened was they did come back at the last minute and took it off the auction block. Okay? So, just because you see a list and just because you made arrangements does not mean that you're going to get that house. But be prepared. Be prepared for the opportunity. And I'd been living away from my family for years and years and years. Because I went down there and I worked for my mom and dad and my Uncle Dale. And once I bought a house,